This is the Lady Raider Report, your weekly look at Texas Tech women's basketball from Double T 97.3 and Double T Sportsnetwork.com.
All right, welcome into the Lady Raider Report here on Double T 97.3, powered by the Double T Sportsnetwork.com. We're happy to have you join us for our first ever podcast talking Lady Raider basketball. I'm Jamie Lent, along with the voice, or one of the voices of Lady Raider basketball, along with Mark Finkner, Chuck Heinz. Thanks for joining us, Chuck. We're going to talk some Lady Raider basketball. We'll kind of get this out to you every week early to kind of look back at what we've seen from the Lady Raiders and preview what's coming up as well. It's kind of an exciting season for the Lady Raiders. I feel like there's a lot of potential there. 50th season for Lady Raider basketball, which is a big deal.
No question, and they really want to get back to the NCAA tournament. I mean, Coach Gerlich talked about that on Saturday, that this season will be a success by getting back to the NCAA tournament. And really, frankly, any kind of postseason play would be great. I mean, they did it 2 years ago, got into the NIT, made a little bit of a run, but haven't been to the NCAA tournament since the 2013 season. And that was the team coached by Christy Curry. And they went one round. They lost here in Lubbock, and then that was it. And frankly, you really haven't sniffed at it since then. But, man, I am really optimistic about your chances and this team and what you can do this year.
Well, I think anywhere close to the NCAA tournament, it would be a major step in the right direction. So if you're able to get there, that would be huge for Coach Gerlich and company. And hopefully you've put together a roster where that's a real possibility and not something that would be a big shock at this point. When you look over the roster, it feels that way. So the Lady Raiders start with 2 games this week at home. They'll play Incarnate Word tonight, Monday night. Then they'll play again against Houston Christian on Thursday. 2 games to kind of get them going, Chuck. So first and foremost, let's talk about what you have returning, and I know that's a lot, which is obviously a really good thing.
No question. I mean, you have 7 return who played last year, plus 1 additional that returns in Archel Magat, who didn't play, and then Bird Martin also comes back for you. She didn't play at all last year. She came in as a freshman at semester. So you have a lot of minutes that are returning. You have a lot of scoring that's returning, and I think that's the biggest thing. And this team went 17-16 last year, 5-13 in the conference. You had injuries. You had players playing out of positions. You had concussions. You had a team that didn't play physical enough in Big 12 play, and they're hoping they've kind of solved part of that problem with 1 addition. But just the big thing, your leading scorer returns in Jazz Shavers. Your number 2 scorer returns in Bailey Maupin. You get some length in Jordan Merritt coming back. So that's all good right there. Then Jada Wynn, who has kind of transformed herself in the offseason, Coach Gerlich calling her more athletic and realized that she can play additional positions, had talked about how they always knew that she was a high IQ kid. She can shoot the 3 ball. She made 33 threes for you last year.
Great shooter.
She was 3rd on the team and made 3s last year. So you have that, plus Kyla Freelon, who probably is not going to start this season, and she's somebody that made like 22 starts last year, and she's got a lot of talent. So when you kind of think about everything, and then Logan Johnson, who has
great promise as a freshman.
Great promises, and she's physical and she's strong, and it looks like she's even gained some more strength in the offseason. So that's why I think there's a lot to feel good about in terms of this team returning this year. And the other thing, Jamie, is so they return 78% of their starters. They return 139 of the 200 minutes that were played last year. And then the top 5 players who played in minutes last year all return. So we've not seen this. In the 12 years that I've been doing this, we usually see this when we go to Iowa State or K-State or Kansas or Baylor or Oklahoma State or Oklahoma or Texas. We've not seen that from the Lady Raiders, and I think that's one thing that we look at, a lot of familiarity coming back.
Yeah, that's absolutely massive, and I mean no disrespect to anybody that's left over the last few years, but it feels like this season, when you think about at the end of last year who you had and who went away, and you're not thinking to yourself, oh, how are we going to replace her?
Right.
We're not really thinking that. Instead, we're thinking, oh, yeah, Jazz Shavers. Oh, yeah, Bailey Maupin, Kyla Freelon, on, and Logan Johnson, and Jordan Merritt. Okay, we got these players to build on that are coming back and should be even better than they were a season ago. And you can't get away from the fact that your 2 leaders, I mean, your 2 studs, Jazz Shavers, Bailey Maupin, they were the ones that made it go for you last year. Both of them back, and that's massive.
No question. I mean, especially for Jazz Shavers. I mean, what she did for you last year in terms of steals and playmaking and playing in games and making big shots. shots. And then Bailey Maupin, who was basically forced to play at the point last year because you had injuries, and she won't play the point this year, but she'll be like a point guard on the floor because she's got such a high IQ. But you want her driving, you want her taking shots, you want her making plays, and so now that you've got that, it just makes it so much better that you can kind of run your complete offense. And then you're going to have a true stretch five, and you're going to have a true five in there as well.
Yeah, no question. So that means Bailey Maupin back to her natural position, more of the shooting guard spot. And she's probably a better player now, having played point guard for a year. So those kind of skills mix in there. You talked about Kyla Freelon earlier. Now you've got a true five in there, so Freelon's not going to play out of position. She should be back to playing more a four spot, which fits her better. So, I mean, roles should be a little bit better this year if you can stay healthy and the girls playing in their natural spots. That makes a huge, huge difference. So 10 upperclassmen on this team, Chuck, that's got to be the first time in a long time.
Oh, my God, yes.
That many veterans.
And you just kind of look at this and go, there's the carryover for them, and then carry over with the coaching staff, and carry over with the plays, and carry over with just how they want to run their culture and their business. So I've seen things in off-season practice that I've not seen before. Every coach talks about, well, we want a player-led team, Every coach that's coached the Lady Raiders, from Christy Curry forward, have all wanted their kids to talk more on the floor. Well, it's hard when you're constantly bringing in new kids for that new kid to say, okay, I'm going to be the leader, I'm going to be the talker, because they haven't earned the skin on the wall. Well, Bailey Maupin's earned the skin on the wall. Jazz Shavers has earned the skin on the wall. Those two have talked more in some of these preseason practices and talked to other players and pointed out to them what they need to be doing. So it's one thing for a coach to do it, but your teammate to do that and say, hey, you need to be better at this, or you need to run faster at this, or you can't be late for this. When your teammates are doing that, that then becomes a player-led team. And I just feel like I'm seeing this team kind of grow up in front of my eyes, which makes you so happy to see.
Yeah, awesome to see, no doubt. So we've talked about those girls returning, a lot of them, key players. So, but you also bring in some key players through the transfer portal or through the junior college routes, and some freshmen as well. So talk to us about some of the newcomers that you think will be able to come in and make a big impact.
Well, I think it all starts with Danae Fritz. I mean, she was on the all Big 12 freshman team at Iowa State for whatever reason, and I don't know the exact reason, but leaves Iowa State. She was very productive for them because she started 31 games for them after missing most of her true freshman year because of an injury. Then she goes to Baylor and then hardly played at all last year for Baylor. So her coming here to run the show and be the true point guard is huge. High IQ, is a very, very good player on the floor. I think she'll distribute well, understands her role, and I think that it all starts with her. But then you look at Jalen Bristow, and she comes in from Iowa State. She's a sophomore, so she's got 3 years left to play. Sure. And she was a gal that averaged 5 and almost 4 rebounds a game in about 15 minutes. But she's got some length, and she's got athleticism, and all those things that you've not necessarily had or seen in a second-year player. And I think she's also kind of just blossomed over the last few weeks. That's what Coach Gerlich was telling us on Saturday. And then Maya Pete, who's 6'6", she'll have 1 year for you, but she is a true big that can get up and down the floor. Now, she's not going to play in these first couple of games. She's got a little bit of a back situation, but they're really excited about what she can do and what she can bring to the table in terms of just that physical inside presence. And then Achol Magat, what they want out of her is whatever you can play, whatever minutes you can give us, go as fast as you can, as hard as you can, because she's extremely strong and can be a factor inside. You're not going to get a lot of minutes out of her, but when she's in, they want her to play hard.
And extremely tall, too, 6'7", correct?
Yeah, 6'7", yeah.
Which is a big deal in women's basketball.
Yeah, because we've not had that.
Yeah, go in there, mix it up, block some shots, change some shots, whatever, get some offensive rebounds, putbacks, extra possessions for you, whatever.
And then the gal that they think is going to be the surprise already, and the surprise of the team is going to be Sarah Sanogo. She's 6'3", she's a junior, she's from Odessa College by way of Paris, France. All right?
Okay.
And so she did a tremendous job for them last year in getting them to the Elite Eight. They're really excited about having her. And when you see her, I know this sounds weird, she looks like a basketball player. Okay, so she's like dripping with potential and dripping with talent. I mean, Coach Gerlich talked on Saturday about how they watched her at one of the scrimmages against UTEP, I believe, where she blocked a shot, she recovered, and then took it coast to coast. And she's going to play at the 5 spot.
Awesome. And then don't forget Adley Blacklock, a local kid here from the Lubbock area. If you've watched girls high school basketball, you saw her at Trinity, you saw at Lubbock Cooper. Super high basketball IQ. Great shooter, great offensive player.
She's the spark plug.
Yeah, another great player you add to the mix, probably coming off the bench.
Absolutely.
And should really be a good addition.
And what they've talked about her in recent weeks is she's discovered she can play defense. And so that's because Coach Gerlich wants to be a defense first team. She knows that you're going to win playing defense. And she wants to be a defensive coach. She wants her teams to play tough. She wants her teams to be physical. They just have not been able to do that. They've not had the personnel to be able to do that. But we finally have some carryover. I know it's taken a long time, but for whatever reason, this may be a year that you go, oh, well, this is really has some potential to be special. Now the Big 12 is going to be tough.
Sure.
So I mean, there's no easy nights.
Yeah, but even before that, and this I think speaks to the confidence that Coach Gerlich has in this team, because she's scheduled pretty tough in non-conference play. You've got matchups in non-conference play against Power 4 teams or once Power 5 teams in Washington State, Florida State, on the road at SMU, on the road at Arkansas. That's not an easy non-conference slate at all. So she's really challenging this team more it feels like in non-conference play more than she has in years past.
That's what it feels like, because that Washington State team, it's coached by Kami Etheridge, the former Monterey Plainsman. So you know that she's going to come in here and have her team really fired up. But like you said, I mean, they're a real team as well. I mean, and what they want in these first couple of games against Incarnate Word and Houston Christian, more than anything else, is they don't want to play down to the level of their competition. Okay, and so we've seen some of that in the past. So that you expect this team to come out and play fast and shoot the ball. She feels like they're a good shooting team. So we just need to see some of that, right?
Yeah, and it feels like by the end of November, Chuck, you're going to really have a good idea of who this team is because of that tough schedule. You're going to have a good idea of what the strengths are and the weaknesses are and how good this team can be. And really, you have to schedule like that because Big 12 play, like you said, is really difficult. And it starts on December 22nd, so it gets coming in a hurry.
Right, and you're going to start before Christmas, and then you're going to start your first road game will be January 1st at Arizona State. So, I mean, it's here. It's time for basketball, and I think fans are going to like this team, and I think they're going to play hard, and hopefully they're going to win. And, if you can win 8 games in the Big 12 or 9 games in the Big 12, then that certainly is going to be enough to put you in the NCAA tournament. The other thing is, like, 7 of your 16 losses last year were by 12 or less points.
Okay.
So I mean, you've been kind of right there to some degree, but then you also have to be honest with yourself and go, but you haven't been, because you haven't been able to get stops when you needed to get stops,
right?
Especially inside.
So tell us a little bit about the new teams in the conference. You got 4 new teams. How does that change up the Big 12 Women's Basketball Conference? Who of those 4 are really going to be good?
I think people are going to say Utah is going to be really good. I don't know enough yet about Arizona State and Arizona. But I think those teams are, just by nature of where they are, where they're located, I think there's probably some potential there. But I think the one to really kind of look, and then Colorado as well. I mean,
they were a ranked team.
Yeah, they were a ranked team, and you've played them before and played them here recently a couple of years ago and beat them. But he's got a ways to go to get to. I think Coach Gerlich say, "Hey, we're just worried about Incarnate Word and Houston Christian, and then see where it takes us from there." But I think there's reason to be excited about this team. True, genuine excitement, especially when you look at all the familiar faces and what you're bringing into the team this year as far as newcomers are concerned.
Yeah, without a doubt. It feels like a really big season for the Lady Raiders to kind of take that next step forward and how important that is. And you don't go from 0 to 60, in one season, and you're trying to take a big step forward. And it feels like over the last few years it's been one step forward, one step back kind of a deal. And this feels like it has the opportunity to be a really big season for the Lady Raiders, and by their standards, right? We're not talking about really big like you're going to go to the Final Four. We're talking about making that next step to get to an NCAA tournament, or at least be in the conversation and finish middle of the pack-ish in the Big 12 Conference. Those would be realistic steps forward.
I think so,
and I think this team is capable of that.
Yeah, I think so. I think getting to the NCAA tournament would be huge when you consider the fact that they haven't been there since 2013.
Yep. Should be a fun season of Lady Raider basketball. We'll try to give you updates every week here on the Lady Raider Report. Again, you can find it at doubleTSportsNetwork.com. We'll try to get you updated on everything you can and kind of break down the games and look ahead to big matchups and who's playing well and all of that good stuff. We'll dive more into the conference games and around the conference as well to see who is impressing and who is not impressing, all of that good stuff as well. Again, it'll be Chuck and I all season long, so thanks for joining us, and appreciate it, Chuck.
You bet. Go Lady Raiders.
Good stuff, and we'll have more coming up on the doubleTSportsNetwork.com.
Your weekly deep dive into Texas Tech women's basketball. This is the Lady Raider Report from Double T 97.3 and doubleTSportsNetwork.com.